The year 1951 marked a turning point in American automotive history. While the post-war boom was driving manufacturers to compete in styling and horsepower, the Hudson Motor Car Company of Detroit was quietly developing something different, something that would defy expectations, outperform larger rivals, and make racing history. The Hudson Hornet, introduced in 1951, was more than just a car. It was a feat of low-slung engineering, aerodynamic efficiency, and mechanical precision that allowed a mid-size manufacturer to dominate the stock car tracks of America and humiliate competitors with far greater resources. It became the symbol of engineering triumph over corporate might, and its name still resonates as one of the most important and influential performance cars of the early 1950s. When Hudson engineers set out to design the Hornet, their approach was fundamentally different from that of other Detroit automakers. Instead of building on a tall, body-on-frame chassis, they perfected what they called the monobuilt design, a unibody structure with a perimeter frame integrated into the floorpan. This step-down construction meant that passengers sat inside the frame rather than on top of it. The result was a lower center of gravity, greater torsional rigidity, and improved handling, all without sacrificing comfort or safety. While other cars towered above the road, the Hudson seemed to glide through the air with a stance that was wide, low, and stable. At a time when aerodynamics was barely understood in production cars, the Hornet's sleek profile gave it a measurable advantage both in efficiency and high-speed stability. Under the hood, Hudson engineers installed their crown jewel, a massive 308 cubic inch, 5.0-liter, inline six-cylinder engine, one of the largest and most advanced straight-sixes of its day. While other companies were switching to V8s, Hudson believed in the inherent balance and torque characteristics of the inline configuration. The engine was equipped with twin Carter carburetors in the optional twin H-Power version, which boosted power output to around 170 horsepower, a stunning figure for the time, especially from a six-cylinder engine. The torque curve was equally impressive, with abundant low-end pull that made the car exceptionally responsive out of corners. On paper, it was not the most powerful engine in Detroit, but the combination of its torque delivery, low center of gravity, and robust chassis made the Hornet a dynamic masterpiece. The Hudson Hornet's performance was not just theoretical, it proved its superiority on the racetrack. From 1951 to 1954, the car became an unstoppable force in NASCAR and AAA stock car racing. Under the command of legendary drivers like Marshall Teague, Herb Thomas, and Tim Flock, the Hornet claimed an astonishing number of victories. In the 1952 NASCAR season alone, Hudson's won 27 out of 34 major races. Herb Thomas took the championship that year, and again in 1953, driving a Hornet that had become almost mythical among racing enthusiasts. What made these victories remarkable was that the Hornet was competing against cars with larger V8 engines, heavier frames, and bigger corporate budgets. Yet race after race, the Hudson's superior handling, balanced weight distribution, and durable mechanical components left its rivals struggling to keep up. Much of the success was due to Hudson's close collaboration with its racing drivers. Unlike many other manufacturers of the time, Hudson engineers listened to feedback from racers and made factory-supported modifications for competition use. The factory even supplied performance parts and technical guidance directly to teams, a practice that anticipated what later became the norm in motorsports. Hudson's racing program was not officially branded as such, but its level of factory involvement was unprecedented. This created a direct link between engineering innovation and track performance, making the Hornet not just a marketing success but a genuine engineering experiment that translated into real-world dominance. The Hornet's success on the racetrack had an immediate impact on Hudson's reputation and sales. For a brief period in the early 1950s, the company's image transformed from a small, conservative Detroit automaker into a technological leader. Buyers who read about the Hornet's victories were drawn to dealerships eager to own a car that shared its DNA with the machines that conquered Daytona and Darlington. Hudson capitalized on this connection, promoting the car's step-down design as the secret behind its superior handling. Advertising slogans proudly proclaimed, "It's the car that wins races," and for once, the marketing was entirely true. The Hornet offered ordinary drivers a taste of the same engineering that dominated professional racing, a rare alignment between showroom and track. Yet behind this success lay the limitations of a small company competing in a rapidly consolidating industry. While the Hornet was technologically advanced, Hudson lacked the financial strength to develop a modern V8 engine or invest in new styling every year. Its competitors, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, were entering a horsepower war, introducing high-compression overhead valve V8s that captured public attention. Although the Hornet's inline-six remained potent, the market's fascination with V8 power began to shift the perception of performance. Hudson's engineering-first philosophy could only carry it so far without fresh capital and broader appeal. Still, within its domain of precision handling and durability, the Hornet reigned supreme. The car's construction was as robust as it was innovative. The step-down chassis integrated deep box section frame rails into the floorpan, forming a structural perimeter that absorbed torsional stress and provided crash protection. This layout also allowed for a lower roofline without reducing interior space. The Hornet's suspension combined heavy-duty coil springs in front with a live rear axle and leaf springs at the back, a conventional setup but finely tuned for balance and stability. Power steering was not yet common, but the Hornet's steering ratio and suspension geometry gave it a direct, confident feel. Many drivers described it as the best-handling American car of its era, capable of high-speed cornering without the body roll that plagued most of its contemporaries. Hudson's straight-six engine was a marvel of precision machining. The 308 cubic inch displacement was achieved through a bore and stroke of 3.8125 by 4.5 inches, producing strong mid-range torque. The twin H-Power version, introduced in 1952, used dual carburetors and a redesigned intake manifold that improved mixture distribution across all cylinders. This not only enhanced power output but also improved fuel efficiency and throttle response. The engine block was cast from high-strength iron, with 7 main bearings supporting the crankshaft, an unusually durable configuration that allowed it to withstand the stress of racing. Mechanics often remarked on how the Hornet's engine could endure entire racing seasons with minimal maintenance, a testament to Hudson's meticulous quality control. The Hornet's body design reflected Hudson's commitment to function over flash. While other automakers embraced tail fins, chrome excess, and exaggerated styling, the Hornet's appearance was smooth and understated. Its rounded fenders and flowing roofline were not just aesthetic choices, they contributed to a lower drag coefficient. The windshield was curved, and the body contours minimized wind resistance, giving the car both stability and quietness at highway speeds. The car's overall proportions were balanced: long hood, short rear deck, and a wide stance that visually emphasized its performance potential. Hudson may not have been a design trendsetter, but its cars projected a quiet confidence that appealed to those who valued engineering over ornamentation. Racing driver Marshall Teague played a crucial role in bringing the Hornet's potential to the world's attention. Known as the King of the Beach for his victories at Daytona, Teague worked directly with Hudson engineers to fine-tune the car for competition. He understood that its advantage lay in handling and durability rather than raw horsepower. By optimizing suspension settings and engine tuning, Teague turned the Hornet into a race-winning weapon. His partnership with Hudson was so close that the company provided him with factory backing and technical data. With Teague behind the wheel, the Hornet became nearly unbeatable on oval tracks, earning respect even from rivals who initially dismissed it as just another mid-priced sedan. Herb Thomas continued this legacy by winning multiple championships in the early 1950s, further establishing the Hornet's mythos. Thomas's skill and mechanical sympathy matched the car's capabilities perfectly. Together, they demonstrated that a well-balanced chassis and a reliable engine could outperform brute power. The image of Thomas's pale blue, fabulous Hudson Hornet became iconic, a visual symbol of determination and mechanical excellence. Fans began to see the Hornet as the underdog that conquered giants, a reflection of American ingenuity and perseverance. The Hornet's racing success also influenced American automotive culture in subtler ways. It showed that engineering sophistication could defeat corporate muscle, inspiring a generation of enthusiasts to appreciate balance, handling, and innovation. Long before the term muscle car was coined, the Hornet embodied performance achieved through intelligence rather than brute force. Its dominance forced other manufacturers to rethink chassis design, suspension geometry, and aerodynamics. By the mid-1950s, The lessons learned from the Hudson's victories had filtered through the industry, contributing to the evolution of performance-oriented engineering across Detroit. The 1951 Hudson Hornet was available in multiple body styles: two-door club coupe, four-door sedan, and convertible. Despite its performance potential, it remained a comfortable and luxurious car for everyday use. The interior featured high-quality materials, plush seating, and a dashboard layout that emphasized ergonomics. The ride was smooth and quiet, thanks to extensive sound insulation and the low center of gravity that minimized vibration. Hudson managed to combine comfort, safety, and performance in a way that few cars of the period achieved. Even at high speed, the Hornet felt stable and composed, inspiring confidence in both professional drivers and ordinary owners. Production of the Hudson Hornet began in 1951 at the company's Jefferson Avenue plant in Detroit. The early models were instantly recognized for their wide stance and low profile, measuring about 208 inches in length with a 124-inch wheelbase. Weighing roughly 3,700 pounds, the Hornet was not light, but its balance and rigid construction compensated for the mass. Performance tests of the era recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour times around 12 seconds, remarkable for a six-cylinder sedan in 1951, and top speeds approaching 110 miles per hour, depending on gearing and carburation. These figures may seem modest today, but in the early 1950s they represented the cutting edge of American automotive performance. The Hornet's engineering philosophy also anticipated later developments in automotive safety and structure. The step-down design inherently provided a lower center of gravity, reducing rollover risk. Its integrated frame offered superior crash protection compared to body-on-frame rivals. Hudson engineers had essentially invented a primitive form of what would later become the modern unibody, a construction method now used by almost all passenger cars. Though Hudson never marketed it as a safety innovation, the Hornet's structure made it one of the most solid and secure vehicles of its time. By 1953, however, the industry was changing rapidly. The public's fascination with tail fins, chrome, and V8 engines was growing. Hudson attempted to keep up by introducing styling updates and offering the twin H-power system as standard on performance models, but the company's finances were stretched thin. In 1954, Hudson merged with Nash Kelvinator to form American Motors Corporation, AMC, a move intended to pool resources and survive the fierce competition. The merger effectively ended the original Hudson brand's independence, but the Hornet name lived on for a few more years as a badge-engineered model under AMC's direction. The true spirit of the original Hornet, the car that humiliated the giants, had already become legend. The legacy of the 1951 Hudson Hornet extends far beyond its production years. It represents an era when engineering creativity could still overcome marketing budgets, when a small team of dedicated designers and racers could challenge the dominance of the Big Three. Its victories in NASCAR and AAA racing redefined what a production-based car could achieve. Even decades later, the Hornet remains a favorite among collectors and historians, celebrated not only for its racing pedigree but also for its technical sophistication. Restored examples are highly sought after, particularly the twin H-power coupes that epitomize the golden age of post-war American ingenuity. The Hornet also holds a unique place in popular culture. Its legend was revived in the 21st century through film and nostalgia, reminding modern audiences of a time when engineering excellence could come from unexpected places. Yet beneath the myth, the reality remains. The Hudson Hornet of 1951 was one of the most precisely engineered, beautifully balanced, and historically significant automobiles ever built in the United States. It proved that victory on the track was not merely a matter of horsepower. It was the result of intelligence, courage, and mechanical mastery. By the beginning of 1952, the Hudson Hornet had already established itself as a phenomenon in American motorsport. Yet, far from resting on its success, Hudson engineers continued refining the car. They knew that competition on the track and in the showroom was intensifying. The twin H-power option, introduced mid-year, became the symbol of that next evolutionary step. It featured dual carburetors mounted on a split intake manifold, improving airflow and fuel mixture distribution. The result was a measurable performance increase. Horsepower rose from 145 to 170, and torque improved across the entire range. For a straight-six engine designed in the late 1940s, this was an extraordinary achievement. Even more remarkable was that these gains came without compromising reliability or drivability. Owners could enjoy the same setup used by NASCAR champions, with only minor adjustments separating the showroom car from the race car. The twin H-Power system quickly became one of Hudson's best-known trademarks. It was visually distinctive, two air cleaners positioned side by side on top of the engine, and it became a badge of pride among enthusiasts. Hudson offered it as an optional package, but many dealers installed it locally to meet customer demand. The system exemplified Hudson's philosophy, innovation derived from practical engineering rather than marketing flash. In the early 1950s, when other automakers were experimenting with high-compression V8s that often required premium fuels and complex tuning, Hudson's twin H-Power 6 delivered smooth, reliable performance that could withstand hours of sustained high-speed running. This continuous development reflected Hudson's close connection with racing. The company maintained an informal but highly effective collaboration with its drivers, particularly Herb Thomas and Tim Flock. Their input influenced gearing ratios, carburetor calibration, and suspension settings. Hudson's engineers would often analyze race data, noting temperature readings, tire wear, and fuel consumption to improve the production cars. This symbiotic relationship between competition and production was decades ahead of its time. It mirrored the practices later seen in European racing programs by Mercedes-Benz or Jaguar, yet it was happening in Detroit at a company far smaller than its rivals. The Hornet's handling remained its most decisive advantage. In an era when most American cars were tall and softly sprung, the step-down design gave the Hornet an uncanny ability to corner flat and predictably. Drivers frequently commented on how secure the car felt at high speed, particularly on banked tracks like Daytona or the dirt ovals that defined early NASCAR racing. The wide track and low center of gravity minimized body roll, while the strong frame absorbed punishment that would cripple lesser cars. Even after multiple races, the Hornet's structure showed minimal fatigue. Mechanics admired how the doors still closed with the same solid thunk, even after a season of hard racing. This durability became part of its legend. In a sport where breakdowns were common, the Hudson simply refused to quit. By 1953, Hudson had refined the Hornet into an even more capable machine. The twin H-Power system was now widely adopted, and the company introduced subtle styling changes, new grille designs, revised trim, and fresh interior fabrics, to keep the model competitive in showrooms. But under the surface, the engineering was what truly mattered. Improvements to the suspension geometry and weight distribution gave the car even better balance. Drivers like Herb Thomas dominated the 1953 NASCAR season once again, securing 12 major victories and another championship. The Hornet's consistent performance had become a nightmare for Ford and Chevrolet teams, whose cars often struggled to complete races under the same conditions. The dominance of the Hudson Hornet between 1951 and 1954 is one of the most statistically impressive streaks in American motorsport. During those 4 seasons, Hudson's captured over 80 NASCAR victories, more than any other manufacturer during that period. This was achieved not with factory-funded super teams, but with semi-independent racers working closely with Hudson engineers. The Hornet's combination of agility, reliability, and balanced design proved unbeatable on the rough, dusty tracks of early stock car racing. Its supremacy forced competitors to rethink their approach. It was no longer enough to build cars with raw power. Manufacturers now had to consider weight distribution, chassis rigidity, and aerodynamics. The Hornet's racing legend also changed public perception of what a 6-cylinder engine could achieve. Before Hudson's success, the V8 was considered the hallmark of performance, while 6s were seen as economy choices. The Hornet shattered that stereotype. Its 308 cubic inch straight 6 produced torque figures rivaling early V8s, and its ability to sustain power over long races made it a favorite among professionals. Hudson's engineers had optimized combustion efficiency with a carefully designed head and high-flow carburation. The dual carburetors of the twin H-Power system were synchronized through mechanical linkages that ensured equal mixture delivery to both sides of the engine. Every aspect of the system reflected precision and balance rather than brute force. This philosophy would later influence how other automakers approached performance tuning, prioritizing harmony between engine, chassis, and suspension. Despite these achievements, the commercial landscape of the early 1950s was turning against Hudson. The company's resources were limited, and the cost of developing new models was rising rapidly. The step-down platform, while brilliant, was expensive to produce and difficult to update for new styling trends. Its low floor pan required unique body tooling that could not be easily adapted to annual design changes. Meanwhile, Ford and Chevrolet were introducing fresh, flashy models every year, enticing buyers with fins, chrome, and new V8 engines. Hudson's conservative styling began to look dated, even as its mechanical excellence remained unmatched. The public was shifting its priorities from engineering purity to image and fashion, a dangerous shift for a small company built on technical credibility. In 1954, Hudson faced an existential crisis. Sales had declined sharply despite the Hornet's success on the track. Recognizing that it could not survive alone, the company merged with Nash Kelvinator to form American Motors Corporation, AMC. The merger aimed to consolidate production facilities and share resources, but it also marked the end of Hudson's independence. Under AMC, the Hornet name continued, but the new cars were based on Nash platforms and lacked the distinctive step-down design that had made the original Hudson so special. Enthusiasts immediately noticed the difference. The new Hornets were competent automobiles, but they no longer possessed the racing DNA of the originals. The spirit that had driven Hudson's engineers to build the most advanced chassis of the early 1950s had effectively been absorbed into a larger corporate structure. Nevertheless, the legacy of the original Hornet did not fade. Its engineering principles influenced AMC's later designs, particularly in the areas of structural rigidity and handling balance. Moreover, many of Hudson's engineers continued working within AMC, contributing to the company's reputation for building solid, durable cars. The concept of integrating frame and body construction, the heart of the step-down design, would eventually become standard industry practice. Decades later, automakers around the world adopted unibody designs as the norm, proving that Hudson's ideas had been far ahead of their time. Beyond its technical achievements, the Hudson Hornet represented something deeper in American culture. It embodied the underdog spirit of innovation and perseverance. In an industry dominated by giant corporations, Hudson's success showed that intelligence and creativity could still triumph. Its dominance on the racetrack was a victory not just for Hudson, but for every engineer who believed that design integrity mattered more than marketing slogans. The Hornet became a symbol of craftsmanship in an era increasingly defined by mass production and corporate consolidation. Collectors and historians today view the 1951 to 1954 Hornets as milestones in automotive history. Surviving examples of the twin-H power coupes are especially prized for their rarity and authenticity. Restorers often remark on the car's remarkable structural solidity. Even after 7 decades, the body seams remain tight, and the doors align perfectly. The extensive use of high-strength steel and Hudson's meticulous assembly standards ensured longevity far beyond that of most contemporaries. Many owners who restore these cars find that the engineering simplicity and robustness make maintenance surprisingly straightforward. The inline-six engine, though massive, is easy to service, and its durable components allow it to run smoothly even after decades of disuse. From a modern perspective, the Hudson Hornet can be seen as a precursor to the concept of the performance sedan. Long before European marques like BMW or Mercedes-Benz built sports sedans with racing pedigrees, Hudson had already proven that a family car could dominate professional motorsport. The Hornet's combination of comfort, reliability, and race-winning capability prefigured the balance that later defined high-performance road cars. It was the rare automobile that truly excelled at both the everyday drive and the high-speed competition. Few vehicles before or since have achieved that dual identity so completely. The engineering mindset that produced the Hornet also anticipated future trends in weight distribution and handling optimization. The step-down chassis placed the engine low and slightly rearward of the front axle line, improving balance. This layout, though not formally recognized at the time, anticipated the front mid-engine configuration that would later become standard in performance cars. The Hornet's low polar moment of inertia made it remarkably responsive, allowing drivers to steer with precision through high-speed turns. These qualities were not the result of computer simulations or wind tunnel testing. They were achieved through empirical testing, intuition, and an uncompromising focus on mechanical harmony. Hudson's engineers, led by people like Frank Spring and Stuart Bates, deserve recognition for their forward-thinking approach. Spring, the chief designer, insisted that every stylistic element should serve a functional purpose. The smooth body lines were not just aesthetic, they reduced turbulence and road noise. Bates, on the engineering side, perfected the step-down construction and supervised its implementation with rigorous attention to detail. Their collaboration exemplified the rare unity between design and engineering that characterized the best of mid-century American industry. In many ways, the Hornet was not just a car, it was a statement of what disciplined craftsmanship could achieve when guided by scientific reasoning rather than marketing trends. The Hornet's decline was inevitable given the financial realities of the 1950s, but its influence endured. Its racing victories inspired future generations of drivers and engineers. The car's legend was revived in popular memory, celebrated in museums, books, and documentaries. Its aerodynamic silhouette and mechanical resilience became a symbol of the golden age of American engineering. The term, "Fabulous Hudson Hornet," once just a nickname from racing fans, became an immortal brand in automotive lore. Even decades later, when the name appeared again in media or film, it evoked respect for a time when the pursuit of perfection still guided the automotive world. From a purely technical standpoint, the Hudson Hornet represented one of the most advanced examples of structural integration in its time. The step-down platform predated other unibody designs by years, and its impact on vehicle dynamics was profound. The rigidity of the floor structure allowed engineers to tune the suspension more precisely, since the chassis flex was minimal. This was critical in racing, where consistent geometry under load meant predictable handling. The Hornet could maintain its alignment and suspension behavior even after repeated high-stress events, something that few competitors could claim. Its monocoque-like strength gave it both safety and performance advantages, making it one of the earliest true driver's cars produced in America. The Hudson Hornet also represents a fascinating study in the intersection of mechanical design and human ambition. Every aspect of its creation reflected the mindset of engineers who believed in doing things correctly, even when it was not the easiest or cheapest route. Its development was not dictated by accountants or focus groups, it was guided by empirical testing and an unrelenting drive to improve. The results spoke for themselves. When the Hornet took to the racetrack, it was not just another car, it was the manifestation of a philosophy. The low, powerful silhouette, the throaty hum of the inline-six, and the composure through every corner told a story of precision and pride. For those who witnessed its reign, the image of a Hudson leading a field of bigger, louder cars remains one of the most memorable sights in American racing history. In the broader context of automotive evolution, the Hornet occupies a place alongside the greats, machines that transcended their era through innovation. Just as the Ford Model T revolutionized mass production and the Chevrolet Corvette defined American sports car identity, the Hudson Hornet demonstrated that engineering sophistication could achieve greatness without excess. It was proof that a small manufacturer could change the direction of an entire industry. Its lessons about balance, durability, and integration continue to influence automotive design even today. Looking back from the vantage point of modern engineering, the Hudson Hornet's achievements seem almost prophetic. Concepts such as structural rigidity, low center of gravity, and chassis balance, now essential in performance vehicles, were already mastered by Hudson in 1951. Its unibody approach became the template for future generations. The car's ability to blend comfort with competition remains a benchmark for automotive versatility. More than 70 years later, the Hornet's story still resonates because it captures the essence of mechanical excellence, a perfect harmony between power, control, and purpose. The Hudson Hornet was not simply a product of its time, it was a glimpse into the future of automotive design. Its creators could not have known how influential their work would become, yet their dedication to principles of balance, precision, and integrity ensured immortality. When historians describe the Hornet as the car that humiliated its competition, they are not exaggerating. On the racetrack, it defeated giants. In engineering, it set standards decades ahead of its peers. And in spirit, it remains an enduring symbol of what American ingenuity can achieve when driven by passion rather than profit.